California has a lot going against it. And I really want people who live in this great state, who see the benefits of investing in real estate, to hear me loud and clear, because I talk to too many people who say, I love real estate. I don't know how to invest outside of the state. So I've bought a home. I'm not cash flow positive. I'm losing money every month, but hope and pray for appreciation. That's gambling. That is not investing.
Welcome to the Secrets to Abundant Living podcast. Your guide on this journey is Amy Sylvis. If you're ready for the secrets to an abundant life, hit that subscribe button now, and let's get started.
Hello, Secrets to Abundant Living podcast community. Welcome back. I am your host, Amy Sylvis, the founder and principal of Sylvis Capital. And I am so excited to talk to you all today about a topic that is super near and dear to my heart. But before we get started, just want to remind you how important it is to rate and review the podcast. It really is what helps us spread the abundance message to more folks, and that would be enormously helpful. All right. Well, I'm coming in hot again this week on this solo episode with another kind of controversial topic, and that is where we invest. So again, I'm going to set the context because thankfully, thanks to all of you all, we have a lot of new listeners every week. And here at the Secrets to Abundant Living podcast, to be very succinct, we believe that money is not the end all be all. It is not our destination. Our destination is to control the relationships that we have and make sure that they are abundant, to have control over our time, to have control over our freedom, whether that's geographic, whether that's how we spend our time, have the ability to contribute and give back to society in the way in which we choose, and to really have freedom and abundance in all aspects. Today's topic is how you can create more financial abundance for yourself and your family through choosing the right location in which you invest. So again, not everybody is tied to a given location for their hands-off income. But if you're a real estate investor like I am, heads up, because this is for you. And even if you aren't a real estate investor, I know our listener base, the Secrets to Abundant Living community, is always looking to learn. And whether that knowledge is applied today or tucked back in their head and used a year or two from now, you all love to learn and expand your horizons. So even if you aren't a real estate investor, this is going to be helpful for you in the future. I have no doubt. So something to think about as real estate investors, especially residential real estate investors. So I do apartment buildings, which are residential, but they're large. They're 100 unit, 200 unit, 300 unit properties. So it straddles between commercial and residential. Some people will say residential commercial, but that's neither here nor there. I live in California. California has the largest population of any state in the United States. And I have pause when people tell me that they invest in California. No judgment. And again, this podcast is not about telling you what to do, but rather giving you education. And I share my own experience. I live in California. I do not invest here on the residential apartment side. And here is why. Investing is investing. It's not gambling. And for me, it's a gamble, given all of the rules and regulations and demographics and economics to invest in California. I'm not a gambler. I am insanely conservative. And I want to tell you some of the reasons why I really go by the mantra of live where you want and invest where it makes sense. Now, some of you may be saying, that's great, Amy. I don't have the ability to invest outside of where I live. Okay, hold on. We can address that at the end. Let's just pretend that you do, that you have all the answers. Go with me on this for a journey. So as we think about what drives apartment building or even single family rental success, we have to think of this like a business, because it is a business. When we buy stocks, we are not operating the company ourselves, right? There's a whole slew of executives that operate and get the results for us when we own a stock. In real estate, even if you are the active property manager, you are the asset manager of that business. So figuring out what's going to drive the success of that business is imperative. In real estate, who helps us get a return on our investment? It's our tenants. Whether you're investing in industrial, in office, in apartments, like I do, we have to pay attention to where the revenue is coming from, and that's our tenants. Well, what causes our tenants to be able to pay us what we want and be consistent with that? Well, on the apartment side, it's jobs and migration. I want to invest in an area where lots of people are moving because that's going to increase demand for the product that I have to offer, which is an apartment unit. Or in the case of my industrial investment, where companies are moving, where companies are growing, because that's going to cause demand for the space that I have in my industrial unit. The other thing on the apartment side is jobs, because it's great if people demand and are looking for housing, but are these folks able to pay their rent and pay it consistently? So looking for an area where jobs are growing, where income is growing because of those jobs, the jobs are paying more. All of that is very favorable when we think about our investment performing and giving us the best return possible. Spoiler alert, California doesn't have great migration, net migration. Lots of folks are leaving the state. That doesn't mean you can't do well in California as an investor, but I want everything stacked in my favor. And when we look at population growth, California is towards the bottom of the barrel. Job growth as well. Unemployment is higher in California than the average US unemployment. There are other areas in the United States where unemployment is lower than the national average, where jobs are growing faster than California, where wages are growing faster than California. Are you starting to see the picture? Doesn't mean you shouldn't invest in California. Again, I am not giving investment advice, but I'm walking you through how I think through the location of where I invest. I want all the cards stacked in my favor. I want the job growth. I want the population growth. I want the income growth. All of these things are incredibly important. And for my hard-earned money that I invest personally in my projects, I want to go where my money is treated best. And that really leads to the next point, which is state and local laws and regulations. Now, look, if you've known me from any period of time, you know that one of the reasons I love apartment investing is because we get to take care of people. Profit is great, and I believe wholeheartedly that we can treat people extremely well and make them feel like they're cared for, they're cared about, and that they're important to us, in addition to making profit. Those two things can exist at the same time. That being said, it's important to understand state and local laws because, for example, in California, if you evict a tenant, again, there is nuance here. So please take what I'm saying, knowing that I'm talking broadly because no one wants to get into the nitty-gritty of tenant law in California. That's not what this podcast is about. But from a 30,000 foot view, it can take 6, 9, 12 months to evict a non-paying tenant in Los Angeles, in most of California. Not all. I'm not going to speak in absolutes. What does that mean as a business owner, as an investor? Someone can not be paying rent, and I'm still paying the mortgage, the repairs and maintenance, the insurance, the property taxes, and these folks are living there for free. I'm not saying I'm going to be the type of landlord that if grandma runs into a health issue and she's in the hospital for a month and her caregiver takes her debit card to pick up her prescription from the pharmacy and drains her bank account and leaves her stranded with no money that can't pay rent, that we're going to evict grandma right away. By the way, all that's a completely true story of a resident we had in Tennessee. We're not evicting grandma in that circumstance. We are human beings. Our property managers are human beings. We communicate. We make sure we understand our residents' circumstances. That's not what I'm saying I'm looking for. But what I am looking for is a fair system that where if somebody who has the ability to pay chooses not to, unfortunately, we don't want to be in a situation where someone lives with us rent free for 6, 9, 12 months. That's not a fair system. There are other states in the union where the laws are more fair and balanced. We're not going to be slumlords. We're not going to be meanies and evict people for no good reason. There needs to be a balance. And California, in that respect, is out of balance. Another reason I won't invest in California. Do y'all remember those eviction moratoriums? If you don't know what they are, during COVID, basically the law was, there was a national law, we can get in depth about this, but California, specifically Los Angeles County, had an eviction moratorium that lasted far longer than the national eviction moratorium. And in my humble opinion, it was problematic. Now, to be clear, COVID was wild. There were a lot of jobs lost. The last thing our country needed, or my great state of California needed, was a bunch of people thrown out on the street when their jobs were lost. That's obviously not what we want, right? I think we can all agree as reasonable people that we don't want homelessness to skyrocket when there's a pandemic. That's horrendous. Also, it puts quite a bit of stress on especially non-corporate landowners to have residents who don't pay rent, but the landlords still have to pay the expenses like the mortgage, like insurance, like taxes, like repairs and maintenance. And some people abuse the system. There has to be a balance. And the fact that California went to that extreme when other states did not, and there wasn't more of a balanced approach, gives me pause as an investor to invest in this state. Obviously, that's not the single reason, right? I've already outlined several others. That's scary to me. And I don't know when similar type laws may come back into effect. Hopefully they never do, but the past can leave clues to future behavior, right? And then we'll round out with rent control. Again, like eviction moratoriums, I get the principle of rent control. I do. People deserve housing that they can afford, right? Again, I think all reasonable people agree with that. Unfortunately, rent control ends up having the exact opposite impact than what's intended. It actually creates less housing. It creates a housing shortage. It causes people not to move. It creates a whole bunch of issues socially for the people that need to rent. Also, for landlords, for investors like myself, where expenses continue to go up to limit the ability to raise rent in some circumstances to keep up with expenses, that's a bad investment. That's going to cause a lot of people, myself included, to decide not to invest in an area. We need to be able to set market rent in a reasonable way to where we can recoup expenses, right? Because unfortunately, we're not running a nonprofit. There's nothing wrong with running a nonprofit, but that's not what this is. Now, that's not an excuse to charge exorbitant rents, right? That's not an excuse to be a slumlord. That's not an excuse to just jack up rent out of nowhere to try to maximize profit off the backs of good, hardworking people. That's not what I'm saying. But rent control, unfortunately, ends up having the wild unintended consequence of hurting the resident in many ways. Side note, if we could just build more housing through public-private partnerships, we would eliminate the need for rent control because there would be increased supply, which usually brings down prices. So that's a whole other conversation. That's a whole other Amy soapbox. But California has a lot going against it. And I really want people who live in this great state, who see the benefits of investing in real estate, to hear me loud and clear. Because I talk to too many people who say, I love real estate. I don't know how to invest outside of the state. So I bought a home. I'm not cash flow positive. I'm losing money every month because the rent I can charge is less than the mortgage I have on the single family home or the duplex. But hope and pray for appreciation. Yeah, that's gambling. Y'all, that is gambling. That is not investing. Losing money every month is not investing. Hoping and praying for appreciation while being strapped with all these crazy regulations is not investing. I get why people do it though. They see the value of real estate, right? Most people want to have diversification outside of just the stock and bond market for investments, but they live in California. How in the world are they going to buy a single family home several states away that may be better, make cash flow better, et cetera? So that's why what we offer at Sylvis Capital, because I was in the same position and I wanted to solve this equation for people where I and my company full-time find markets where jobs are growing, where incomes are growing, where population is growing, where regulation is fair and balanced. We buy apartment buildings, we buy commercial real estate like industrial, and we invite folks to invest alongside of us in these incredible states where we do all the work, we do the research, we have the expertise, we control the day-to-day operations, and our investors can still get the benefits of real estate that they've been looking for, but they're not managing a single family home in a state where regulations are crazy, unemployment's too high, people are leaving, and there's rent control. Can you see why there is a great benefit to that of, oh, I have Amy and Sylvis Capital that know how to source these incredibly powerful, profitable, and wise real estate investments outside of the state in areas that are great for investment. And I don't have to deal with the tenants' termites and toilets, but rather I can invest alongside her, utilize her expertise, have her source the deals, operate, and I can just collect my quarterly distributions and paychecks. This live where you want, invest where it makes sense is really a game changer for so many of my investors because they've just felt stuck, as I once did, that I don't want to invest outside where I don't live, but I don't know how to do that without creating another full-time job for myself, or worse, falling into some sort of trap about not knowing the best place to invest. So they limp along really in these investments where they're coming out of pocket, paying the mortgage every month. God. Or I have a dear friend who owns in Los Angeles. I'm not going to call him out because I haven't gotten his permission to talk about it, who's trying to do really good for the local community, but his tenant is suing him for completely unfounded reasons. He can't evict him because the local laws are way too skewed towards the residents. And his good deeds are being punished by trying to be a great guy, giving back to the community. He's frustrated. He's going to sell his single family homes and invest with people like me. He's got a few other contacts in addition to me. We do different types of real estate. That's what he's going to do. This trend is real. This happens, but it's important in my opinion. And I'm really grateful that I was able to learn from other people who did things like investing in not ideal areas. And I didn't end up trapped in the situation that my buddy is in, where he's in this lawsuit. He can't evict the tenant. He can't sell the property. Who knows what's going to happen to property values? I mean, hopefully he ends up okay, but what a hassle. What a hassle for what's supposed to be hands-off income, right? What's supposed to be a really great investment. So I'm grateful to live in the great state of California. There are many things that I love and adore about living here. It is not perfect. I don't have to tell you that. But also, I'm not going to invest here. It is far too risky. And I'm really grateful to be able to present a solution to people who find themselves either well aware of why California isn't a great idea, or where people just kind of settled, almost Stockholm syndrome like, we're investing in this state because, I don't know, it's the best I can do. It's just kind of what I have. There are better options. There are. Not investment advice, just education. For some people, And actually, I'm thinking of another friend of mine. He owns in California. He loves it. He doesn't mind dealing with the other stuff. It's fine with him. That's great. I am not trying to talk him or anyone else out of investing in California. But like we like to do on this podcast, the goal is, and this can apply if you're in New York, if you're in, some of the other cities where being a landlord just doesn't make dollars and cents, if you will. I just want to inform you. I want to give you the education so you can take it in, analyze it, and decide what is best for you and your portfolio and your family. If this information may just be, okay, that's nice. I'm going to continue to invest in California. Great. More power to you. I just want to be the connection towards another way of thinking, an alternate perspective that may serve you. And if it doesn't, guess what? That just means that you got another perspective and you can double down on what you're currently doing by investing in California. So I applaud you for taking the time to expand your knowledge, for intentionally creating an abundant life for yourself by finding hands-off income to ideally be greater than your monthly or quarterly expenses. And cheers to you. Thank you for joining me on another episode of the Secrets to Abundant Living podcast. If you found this episode helpful, please share it with a friend, share it with a family member, share it with somebody who you think could benefit from this alternate perspective, or maybe somebody who's going to think, this is crazy. I love California. I love investing here. She doesn't know what she's talking about. So much the better. To each their own, but I am just grateful to spread a different perspective, provide other options, so you are empowered to create the life that gives you the most amount of abundance. Cheers, everyone. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks for joining us today. Bye for now.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of the Secrets to Abundant Living podcast. We hope you found inspiration and valuable insights that will empower you on your journey towards abundance. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Your feedback means the world to us, and it helps others discover the secrets to an abundant life too. Stay connected with us on LinkedIn, Amy Sylvis. Keep striving for your goals, nurturing your relationships, and embracing the adventure that is life. Until next time, we wish you an abundantly fulfilling day.